Nice jersey.
Today's opening day.
Are you headed to the game?
No, I've got to work all day, man. I got things to do. Just excited to have you, Rod.
Yeah, I'm at the quad, man. I can't stop following you on Facebook now. Like, that dude is huge.
Man, I tell you, I'm doing too much. I got to just back it off a little bit, but it'll be all right. Keeps me sane.
Yep, that's right. That's the whole thing.
Yeah. All right, here it is. Thank you so much for coming to check out another episode of the Stash Cast, where we have interesting conversations with interesting people focused on commercial real estate and the world of prop tech. The Stash Cast is brought to you by Needle. What if you could use data and analytics to predict which transactions were going to occur before anybody else? You can with Needle. Come check it out at needle, NEDL.us to learn more. All right, today I have the one and only and the amazing Rod Santomassimo here. Rod, thank you so much for joining us.
The cheese and crackers.
Yeah,
I am probably the one and only Rod Santomassimo. That is probably true. You don't get that combination of those names. So
I think you
we'll leave it
are.
at that.
Yeah. Rod, I'm super excited to have you today. You are definitely a very influential person in the commercial real estate brokerage world. I know who you are, so maybe let's start with, if you want to give a brief summary of who you are and what you do, that would be great.
Sure. I guess for the purpose of this audience, I'm best known as the founder of the Massimo Group. And the Massimo Group is, I would suggest, the premier commercial real estate broker coaching organization in the industry. We have clients throughout the world now and been around for 15 years, helping individuals like you, Stash, build that business and life that you desire. And we're excited to help individuals. Now, every day I wake up saying, no, what else can we do? What else can we do? It's always my thing every day now. So it's exciting.
Yeah, no, that's it. It is true. I was at a very pivotal time in my early career, and I was like, I got nothing to lose. And I subscribed to the coaching, and that is what has helped me get from where I was, just struggling to get started, to now we've got lots of activity and I've got a whole team, and it was just me. And now I've got 6 guys I work with regularly. So
Now you're an authority. Don't minimize it. Now you're an authority, and we're pumped for you, as we are all our clients. But it's a pleasure being here, and I'm excited for everything you're doing. I think that needle thing is incredible. So I'm excited to talk to you.
thank you. So one of the things I'm curious about, and maybe we can just talk about this a little bit, but how did you arrive at the position that you find yourself in today? And you've told me this in the past, but I'd be curious if you're willing to share to the audience. How did Rod get from, because you started in corporate real estate, didn't you?
I was a broker at first, so like you, Stash. I originally started out with the odd jobs. So one of those jobs was being a broker, but I just found I enjoyed the working with businesses more than working transactions. That's just what I did. So I ended up being in a corporate real estate world with the old firm called Sperry Van Ness, now SVN. And then
Right.
in 2008, we had a little bump in the road, and I found myself unemployed. So I was a senior leadership team, but they did some cuts, and I was cut. And then in 2008, the Great Recession, I looked at my wife and said, I don't think I ever want to work for anyone ever else again. I think I've done that, and I've learned what I need to learn. Let's go start a coaching company. I had no idea what that was at the time. I had no idea what I was doing at the time. 15 years later, and 32 coaches now across North America. We're doing okay.
Yeah, that's awesome. So what was it about coaching? Because in my mind, it's like you have all the skills to build a tremendous brand. I'm wondering why you didn't decide to go and do that.
Yeah, I thought of that maybe the route to just do brokerage, but I do. I just enjoy. And look, I've been a COO of a a telecom firm we took public. I've been a CFO of a law firm. I started my career in consulting. I enjoy building businesses. I do. So I build my own business, or I can help hundreds and thousands of people help build their businesses, and then just what I enjoy doing the most.
Hmm. That's great. So you've built this tremendous coaching organization. How has it changed from when you got started first back in 2008, maybe 2009, to where you are today?
I think it changed mostly in two ways, or three ways, I'd say. Like you, Stash, we all start by ourselves and try to figure things out, and that was tough. And those first years are long hours and really hard, and you don't know what you don't know, so you're ignorant, and that ignorance costs you a lot of money. It does. And now, like you, I have a large team, and I just do what I love to do, like you. So that's one major difference. Definitely, number two is the technology is completely different. With my original clients, we were mailing paper back and forth on certain exercises we were doing because we had some people were concerned about email confidentiality back then. Today everything we're doing is boosted by AI, so it's a completely different world today. It
Yeah.
just is. And last but not least, I think the real estate world has changed as well. You're seeing more and more of perfect segmentation of brokers who should be in large firms and doing extremely well, and brokers that are realizing, hey, I am my brand. I'm going to do really well, and they are starting to do well. I think you've seen a difference in the real estate as well, and that will continue.
Can you expand a little bit more on what you just said about brokers? Some people maybe belong at a larger firm and some are their own brand and thrive on their own. Talk about
Yeah,
that because I'm curious from my own perspective.
yeah. Look, first of all, everyone is wired differently. Every personality is unique. It is, and yes, we assess, and that's not test. That's the wrong word. Assess the natural behaviors of all our clients, right? And you went through the assessment. It could be a Colby, could be DISC, could be Myers-Briggs, but we do something called the AVA, a vector analysis. And what it tells us is where most people will be most comfortable doing what they're doing. And that's it. Where would you be most comfortable naturally doing what you're doing? Some people are really comfortable in a structure, in an organization with support. They really, truly are. And they will thrive in those organizations. They will. And with that support and that network and that leverage and that affiliation, you do extremely well. And we have clients in the big firms, JLL, CBRE, Cushwake, right? Newmark, all the bigger firms, Colliers, and they're doing really well. And it's perfect for them. It is. But then half our clients are in more regional firms, Capstone, right?
Yeah.
Or independent. And we find they thrive on just being and building their own practice, right? Doing what they want, their rules, their regulations. Yes, you can leverage the brand, but Stash, we find more. And I know there's an article, I don't know if you read the Commercial Observer, but last week, Commercial Observer did an article on, are the super brokers dead? And that's because there's been an exodus of big name brokers lately from big firms. There
Right.
has been. And their conclusion was, hell no. The broker is the person that the client hires. The brokerage firm is great and supportive. Don't get me wrong. I love all those firms, but it's the broker, the individual broker that's going to do the work and create the results, not the firm. Unless, of course, it's an institutional play. And Stash, you don't, nor I do. I mean, we don't do 100 and $200 million deals right now, right? You're doing more $20 million deals, $50 million, $2 million deals. That's where
Sure.
most of the practice is. So that's why I see the biggest difference, Dash, from that differentiation, those two things I'm seeing in the market.
I was speaking with somebody the other day and they were talking about disruption and the stretch marks of the big brands. Do you think that big brands are doomed or there's always going to be a place for those larger firms?
There's always a place for all larger firms in every industry. There is. Apple will be Apple, right? Of course. So the Vita is the new on the block on some big firms, but in brokerage and commercial real estate, there will be further consolidation. There will be, right? JL is announced they're going to take more of a consultative model, right? Versus a private investment banker model versus a brokerage model. I'm curious to see where that goes
Yeah.
because as far as I know, and I've seen in my experience, investment banking models are let's pay the individual broker a hell of a lot of money and make sure they produce. And that's not a brokerage model that's ever really proven to work. So we'll have to see where it goes.
Yeah. The brokerage model is you eat what you kill. And
Right,
you
right,
you try and
right.
surround yourself with people that are complementary to your own skill set to fill in that's what I've done partially with your help and that of Massimo is to find complementary skill sets of guys that do well what I don't do well.
And look, and you can find those in large houses. You can, right? Research, fulfillment, all that you can find, and you can find it on your own as well today. And now with AI and outsourcing, and I would say that's probably what's funny. When I wrote that second book, Teams Built to Dominate, that book was written with the lens of you needed your own team, structured team, everything in place, right? You needed to hire all these full-time employees. That lens has shifted significantly now to look, I don't know about you, but in most teams we work with and my teams, I have outsourced people, I have independent contractors, and they work just fine. My team is completely virtual. I work out of my house for the last 20 years. I don't have an office. So teams even have changed. And that's another big change, Stash, that we're seeing and we'll continue to see, especially now with AI.
Yeah, let's talk about that a little bit because I remember when I first got started, everything was over Zoom, and I was like, "What is this? This doesn't make any sense." And now here we are
Here we
on
are.
Zoom. But you've always been a big proponent of technology and leveraging it. What do you see the landscape looking like today, and as opposed to previously, and how do you think it might change?
Look, it's still developing. In fact, I'm meeting with our AI developers yesterday, and they looked at me and said, Rod, it's only 15 months old. I was looking for them to do something like that's a great point. And the thing we're working on right now with the converse bots that actually call prospects for our team members, our clients, that's only 3 months old. And that's still in place. And we don't know if the legislation from the government's going to say, it's very likely the government's going to say you cannot have bots calling on anyone's behalf. That might happen. But what I've seen is this explosion of technology on the AI side on how people get work done. It's the greatest accelerant. It is the greatest accelerant of any tech I have ever seen. Faster than fax machine that took over the phones, and some of your audience has no idea what those are, right? They have
Yeah.
no idea. The abacus, we used to use abacuses to calculate numbers, and then we start using little calculators, and now we use these micro little calculators on our phones and HP12C applications. That's what AI. It's just an accelerator. That's all it is.
Yeah.
So we've integrated AI elements in every component of our coaching because it helps the acceleration of the learning, which helps then therefore the acceleration of the results. So I'm so geeked out. I'm 60 years old, Stash. I'm an old man, and I'm
You look
geeked out
great. I
about.
thought you were 40, Rod. I thought you
I
were
wish.
21.
I wish. I really am so geeked out about where things are going. And look, one of our oldest, longest term clients, a gentleman in New York, he's 61. And what he's doing with AI now is going to change the industry. It's just crazy what's going on. And you're doing it as well. So that's why I'm so excited about the AI side.
Yeah. I like to think of AI as not necessarily a replacement for what the hand-to-hand combat of brokerage deals, but use it as a tool to augment what you're already doing and then just be that much more efficient about it. So
I think that's a great it's not AI, should be more augmented intelligence. It's what it is. It's just a tool. That's all it is. I realize it has scary components. It does. Look, Stash, I could take this podcast right now and I could put it in a filter and I could take your voice and start calling people. That's a fact. That I'm sorry. That everyone should understand the dangers of AI. But the as long as we harness it and try to use it for good,
yeah.
it's an amazing tool.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. It is an amazing tool. And I think as long as it can be, I think that people generally want to do good. Obviously, there's always bad actors and malicious intent, but I think for the most part, people want to do good. So as long as I remember, and it might still be their philosophy, but Google's motto was do no evil or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a good tech companies, especially the big ones with a lot of power and all that, can operate under that same MO. That would be great.
Yes, it would be. And look, I read AI newsletters, multiple of them every morning to see where we are and what's going on. There are dangers, but again, you have to use the tool. You have to use a calculator. You have to use the smartphone. You have to use AI or you will fall behind competitively and you will lose market share. It's just that simple.
Yeah. I'm wondering, so you see people and brokers in all ranges of their career, as well as different product types and even disciplines, leasing, investment sales, generalists, things like that. I'm wondering if you can talk about some of the maybe common or successful traits that you see across people that make them a good fit for commercial real estate brokerage.
Yeah, I think if you can picture a pyramid and let's put it in 3 lines horizontal, think about that. And so there's different levels of ascension for brokers, and we see this across the board, right? The bottom level is the first level, and those folks are really they're spectators in the industry. They could be brand new, or they can be complaining that it's the market's problem, not their problem. Those are the spectators. And stash and brokerage, that's probably 20% of the brokers. Meh, 15, 20% of the brokers are spectators. They're not going to last. And that's the cycle of brokerage. Most brokers are in the believer zone. I would say you probably have 70% of your team in the believer zone. So you got 80% of the brokerage population in spectator believer. Believers are capable. Most brokers are capable. They can do the work. But unfortunately, when I use the word most brokers, that by definition means a commodity. And they are commodities. And those commodities still haven't built the teams like you have. They haven't gotten to be the market expert like you are. They have yet not to. And they still held back by this thought of more of an employee mindset versus an owner mindset. And so brokers, those that are most productive and the best for the top, they have more of an owner mindset. So the next level up would be producers are probably another. Now I got 80%, probably another 15% are producers. They're making mid to high 6 figures consistently. They have a good life. They're independent, but they're also reach a level, and we see this a lot across the board, Stash, where they're happy. And that's great. Look, that's awesome. You and I know you, and I know me. We're happy. We're just not satisfied. You know?
On the nose, exactly.
Right? You and I are never satisfied. Stash, I don't know if that's a good thing or bad thing. I don't know that yet.
I go back and forth with it too.
Our wives might have a different opinion, but
Yeah.
but there's a level of brokers that they're producing well and they're happy and satisfied and they're good and they're fine and they'll say, "I'm good, I'm fine, I don't need to do anymore." Then you get to the next level, and that next level is only the 5% of brokers, and that is those that we call the authorities. They are driven. They're always asking what's next. They're seeing the market as a resource. They're in command of their space. They're CEOs of their own enterprise. It could be small. It could be 3 people. It could be 50 people. It doesn't matter. But they're the authorities. And those authorities have a significant market presence and they dominate. And those are the dominators, the authorities. And that's what we see in the brokerage spectrum, knowing if there's a bell curve. Most brokers are commodities. They're believers, and that's okay. But you can always get better. Right?
Yeah. Have you found a way to effectively transition somebody from that believer to that maybe producer space?
Yeah, that's all we do.
Yeah.
That's all we do at Massimo. So at Massimo, it's all about looking at where someone is, finding the holes in their organization. And everyone, this is true. You and me have the same limitation. We don't know what we don't know. That's the fact. Now, more than most brokers, and yes, I know more than most broker coaches and most brokers because of my just being surrounded in a community of thousands of brokers every day. But we still don't know what we don't know. So that's where I first start out with every broker, and our team does. Okay, here's the pillars you need to put in your practice. And look, the pillars are the same for any business listening to this besides brokerage. There's the 5 pillars, right? So in business terms, it'd be sales, marketing, operations, finance, and HR, right? That'd be the 5 sectors. In our world, sales is prospecting. What are prospecting habits? Most brokers or commodities have poor prospecting habits. They just do. Either what they're saying, who they're going after, how they're saying it, who they're serving, it's not defined. Second, presence. Marketing in our world is presence. Most brokers, commodity again, do not have significant market presence. They're just seen as a broker. You just can't win more opportunities when you're seen as one of many. So we start building out their market presence. Third, their finance, their pipeline, how they manage their pipeline, how they manage their after tax dollars, and what tax strategies do they have, right? What saving strategies? Stash, I'm sure you're not going to be shocked at this. Most brokers don't have a financial plan. They don't. They're living commission by commission. They're chasing deals. It's not where we should be. Operations is processes. The 4th P. Processes is everything. You have processes in your organization, your team. I have processes. Process is how we get things done. And so when I bring people on, build my team, they know this is how you do it. And last but not least is the HR side. And the HR side, yeah, people have to invest in themselves, make their own goals, right? Track their metrics, but then also develop others along the way. And look, I'm working with my research persons in the Philippines. Worked here for 5 years now. That's fine, but you're developing others to go along. So I think those are the basic 5 principles that any business will share with you to build a foundation of growth. And once you start building that foundation, then you can tweak some levers to go from believer to producer in that producer zone. And for those that want to, you can get them to become authorities.
Yeah. That's the goal for me. That's the
For
goal.
you. but not for everyone, Stat. Not for everyone. That's not.
Interesting.
Here's the thing. And this, someone once asked me, and I don't know if you follow Alex Hormozy. I'm a big fan of Alex Hormozy. I think he's a really bright guy. He'll ask you what's the cost of not knowing, right? What's the ignorance tax? And it's true. It's called an ignorance tax if you think about it, of not knowing. So say you're a broker out there listening to this, and you're making, I'm making this up, you're making, make it easy math, $100,000. Okay, you're making $100,000, but you really want to make $500,000, but you don't know how. You just can't figure out how. By the way, it's not that hard. You can't figure out how. So what's that costing you? The fact is, every year you can't figure it out, it's costing you $400,000.
Yeah.
That's a fact. That's a mathematical fact. So every year you go around doing what you're doing and not getting any better and not growing, and it could be coaching, it could be training, it could be getting a designation, it could be a lot of things. It's costing you money. And that's my fear. Is I look at that and say, how much money am I leaving on the table by not growing? Stash, when I first started out, and just, do you remember when you made your first $100,000? Do you remember that?
Yeah, it was 2013 and I'd been a client for a year.
And you were like, I made $100,000.
This is amazing.
Yeah. But then you make $500,000. Oh my God, I made $500,000. And then if you build organizations, like some teams, most teams don't, like Massimo, then you make your first million, you're like, holy shit, I made $1 million. But then you go, that's not enough. And that's the problem. It's not enough. Then it's 3 million. That's not enough. Then it's 5 million. That's not enough. Now it's the next million. So, and that's a beautiful thing. I think that's great. Right. But it's just as easy, believe it or not, it's just as easy to make your first $100,000 as it is to make your first $500,000. And after that, it's just as easy to make your first $1 million. It is. It just takes structure and commitment to your craft. That's what it takes.
Yeah, I've got something hanging along the lines of commitment to your craft. There's something in my bathroom that says the best way to success is to worry about yourself. And it's also along the lines of consistency. It's showing up every day and doing the things that you have to do. And I still use a scorecard that was given by you guys as a way to track, okay, am I doing those minimum basic things, the blocking and tackling of brokerage every day to make sure that I'm keeping that front end of the pipeline full? Because that's my role. That's my job on the team.
Yeah.
That's what I'm good at.
There's a great book called The 4 Disciplines of Execution by Covey's son and Chesney. And it talks about, look, there's lead measures and lag measures. The lag measures, so Stash says, I'm making this up, Stash. Stash says, I want to make $1 million this year, right? That's a great lag measure. You can't figure out if you got it or not until December 31st. You can't, right? But the lead measures, the calls, the meetings, the conversations, the proposals, right? All those lead measures that move towards that lag measure. But what's the most important thing? And you got to have the lead metrics and track them. In fact, at Massimo, we're doing for 15 years, thousands of clients. Those clients that actually track their metrics, like you, actually track their numbers on a consistent weekly basis, exponentially make more money. Understand this, exponentially make more money than those clients that do not. Right? Because if you don't know your numbers, you don't know where to start moving things around and adjusting to figure out this is working, this isn't. Let's do more of this. So, I'll give you a perfect example. So now we start, and I'm embarrassed to say this is embarrassing. I'm doing 15 years. Just this year is the first year I ever did Google Ads. First year ever. And it's embarrassing to me that's the case, right? What the hell was I waiting for? Did a lot of Facebook ads, but never did Google. So in the first month we made 10x our return, right? The second month, we made 15x our return. So we started playing with the numbers. This ad's working, that ad's not working. We're tracking the metrics. In the third month, we made 25x our investment. Because we know what ads are working, what ads are not. And it's the same thing you said, Stash, earlier. You know your numbers, so you know what's working and what's not. If you don't know, you're just winging it. And you're winging it, you're never going to win. You're just not.
Yeah. It's tough. It's really tough to run a brokerage practice, whether it's you on your own or you as part of a team. Like, it's not an easy thing to be in my position, an investment sale broker in whatever market you're in. It doesn't matter the market necessarily. I'm curious if you could maybe talk a little bit, and this is a pivot, but what is the difference between residential real estate brokerage and commercial real estate brokerage? Because I don't think that, and then maybe lead into, if you are in residential and you want to get into commercial, what would be the thoughts there? Because I got a call yesterday from a friend and he's a loan officer. Hey, I'm thinking about getting into commercial real estate. Is it the same license for commercial as it is residential? Like, yes,
Unfortunately, yes.
unfortunately.
First of all, I'm going to talk about again, this goes with the big most, not everyone. Because look, there's some residential brokers that are
Well, they
really
kill it. They
not only kill it, but like Ryan Sarahan, probably the most popular residential broker on the planet, right? I was listening to his beginning of his book last night during a drive, just because I wanted to hear what he had to say. And he was talking about going and looking at due diligence and discovery and planning. And it was not a residential broker transaction. It wasn't just selling a house, right? So residential brokers are different levels, but for the most part, look, residential brokers, you're selling a single family home. You're looking at a lot of emotion. You are like commercial, but it's a more straightforward transaction. The variables, right? The financing needed. It's generally not any zoning issues you deal with. So it's a very straightforward transaction. It is, right? And there are those that kill it. And those that kill it, as we said earlier, the authorities, they have market presence. So it's amazing residential brokerage, but it has nothing to do with commercial brokerage. Not good or bad. It's not saying it's worse or better. I'm not. It's not. It's different. It's just different. It's a totally different model. Commercials, a complete variety of gambit property types. In New York, you can sell air rights. Air, Stash. You're selling air. So, think about that, right? So it's a completely different gambit of property types and specialties and focus points. And you can really get down to the niche. For example, we have some brokers that just focus on nothing but cold storage, and they're making millions, right? Or they're focused on just garden apartments of certain size units from 20 to 50 units, and they're making a lot of money. So you can really specialize in that. Also, it's a much higher investment number game. You have to know your numbers, have a team that knows their numbers, because what I've learned is, and Stash, you invest in real estate, I invest in real estate. An investment broker is completely different than investing in real estate. Completely. It's a totally different skill set from that standpoint. So I would say they're completely different skill sets. I have seen those that are residential, and that's the word we use for. I do a little residential, commercial.
Yeah.
You're a generalist. You're a commodity, and it's not. I'm not not a negative. It's not negative. It's a spectrum of skill sets, right? You sit in that world of residential. You are now a commodity, and you're not special. You're not, and you'll still make some money. Don't get me wrong, but you're never going to be looked at as a resource or a producer or an authority in the ascension pyramid. You just can't be.
Yeah. And sometimes that's due to the geographic territory that you're in.
Absolutely.
That's just what is there.
Yeah. If it's a tertiary, look, we have specialists. You and I have a good friend, I believe, in Bo Barron.
Yeah.
Bo is in Owensboro, Kentucky, right? I love Bo. He is fantastic. He's a friend, a dear friend, and he's amazing broker. But he's in Owensboro, Kentucky. He can't specialize in office in Owensboro. He can't. You can do office, multifamily, industrial, retail. You got to be a specialist. And he's an authority, by the way. He is a true authority in the marketplace. So, yeah, you're right. You have to be more, but you still can be an authority without being a generalist, if that makes sense. You can be.
Yeah, that makes sense. I'm curious if you mentioned brokers that just do cold storage, for instance. I've heard of people trying to target just cell phone towers, for instance. What maybe, and maybe it's a result of technology, or it is clearly. What kind of emerging specialties have you seen that you've been, oh, that's interesting, surprised by?
Certainly, cold storage. I understood, and that's on a national platform. That gentleman was with a national firm, and that makes sense. But here's the one I really, and it's a client of ours, okay, and I can't give the name because of a confidentiality.
Sure.
But the client did nothing but specialize mobile home parks, but it's a certain type of mobile home park, and of course you can't do that on a local basis. You can't make any
Right.
money. So first he was making around 300,000. Then he moved to high six figures, then seven figures, then eight figures, eight-figure brokerage. Think about that, right? But he
Yeah.
did it by using technology, a CRM, a network, owners across the world, across the North America, and he built out his team. His team was small, only 4 or 5 guys, and yet it was an eight-figure team. I mean, eight-figure team. There aren't that many eight-figure teams in the United States. There just
No.
aren't. But he did it specializing on one product type on a national basis and did it better than anybody else. And that's the specialty right there.
I think I know who you're talking about. He's an amazing guy for sure.
He
Completely
is.
unassuming. Fascinating. Yeah. So with the Massimo Group, do you offer coaching for just individuals, or do you also take a whole team, for instance?
No doubt, most of our clients are individuals who invest in themselves. In fact, we do not, this is a mistake I made early on. If a company said, I have some brokers, I want them to do your coaching, I said, great, let's coach them. But the fact was, Dash, when someone doesn't have skin in the game, they don't do what they need to do and they don't have results. They don't have results. We look bad, right? We do. So we stopped letting anyone get coached who doesn't have skin in the game. They must invest in themselves. Most of our clients are, in fact, individual brokers or a team of two. We generally don't, we do have private coaching programs for larger teams if they wish. And that's our core components. But most of our clients are single or teams of two. That's who they are.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Or if you're, if for example, you have a team of 10, they're all getting coached, but they may have different coaches within our organization, because sometimes that's the coach client relationship is an important element of the experience. It is.
Yeah. Yeah, it absolutely is, because you've got to match personalities,
Yeah.
which is a challenge.
So Stash, as an example, I completely forget. It's been so long. Stash, you remember who your coach was?
My first one was Gary Tharp.
Okay. Who's your second one?
Paul, I forget Paul's last name, but he is.
Paul
Yeah.
Reitz.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Gary, very laid back, really laid back.
Yeah.
Paul, much more strategic, right? And that was probably going into it now, how many years it's been, I would never put you with a laid back coach ever again. And now that I know you, damn, that guy needs a drill sergeant, because that's how you would respond to that. You would. You'll run through a brick wall. You will. I know that now, right?
Yeah.
So it's an important element, and that's why I have 30-something coaches. We can change them if we need to. It's an important element of the relationship. But yeah, that's interesting. That's really interesting. Rest in peace, Gary. But
Yeah.
Paul was a better match. So
Yeah, Gary, I used Gary so much when I was just having, Gary, what do I do? And he would get into these stories. Oh, back when I was in Hawaii, we used to give away a TV as a sales prize. And he'd be talking. Okay, great. I figured it out. I got to go. Click.
yeah,
And
again, based on your AVA, you're a quick start. You're good. You're going. You got it. Right. Got it. Go on. Go forward. So yeah, that's why the match is important. Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. No, Gary was great. Do you see, so you coach people internationally. Is there a difference in the United States, say, versus Canada or otherwise?
Not at all in Canada. Not at all. There are clients in Australia. There are some mild differences, but here's, as I said earlier, the principles are the principles. You got to get a presence. You got to prospect. Sure, the dollars are different, and the way they negotiate their deals in Australia are different. They are, but the principles don't change, and that's the beauty of it. That's why I love when someone goes, we get calls all the time. I'm different. Yeah, you are, but you're not. You're a
Right.
business owner. You have to do these 5 things really well. You can't grow your business. So no, we don't see that. And right now, we're not in a non-English speaking. We just can't right now do that. But now with AI, Stash, is a crazy thing. With AI, now most of our training, or sorry, coaching, I never use the word training, but our modules, they're all AI avatars now. There's not old videos of me saying, do this. They're now all AI avatars. So if we had a client with AI, I push one button and every single training becomes Spanish
Yeah.
or French or Japanese. It doesn't matter. It's incredible.
That's awesome. What's your goal with the Massimo Group? Do you want to, you already are the largest commercial real estate brokerage firm out there, or brokerage coaching organization out there.
That's a great question. That's a great, and I wish I get coached, but it's very important to understand this. I always get coached. And that's one mistake I didn't make. When I started, I tried to figure out everything on my own. I was working literally 16, 17 hours a day, every day for 2 years, trying to figure it out. Man, how much money I left on the table because I just didn't ask for help. That was a mistake. So now I get coached all the time. I go with high price, high end coaches to teach me things. And she asked me, I had a big thing to talk to her about yesterday in my coaching session, and it was called the decision. So you asked that question, Stash. I don't have the answer yet. Is it, look, I'm 60 years old. Do I want to run this crazy race like I love for the next 10 years? Probably not. I probably realize I should start traveling more and doing more things besides Massimo. I will still always be part of Massimo. I will still always own Massimo. I'm not selling Massimo. But yeah, I would like Massimo to double its revenue in the next 3 years. That's the goal. I'm going to double our revenue. And to do that, I need more coaches and I need a better presence on the international cycle, just not the United States. So that's where I see Massimo going. I think we're going to get there personally. I think we can. So I'm excited, really excited.
That's awesome, man. Thank you so much, Rod, for joining today. If somebody is interested in either being a coach, if they have the qualifications, or being coached, no matter what stage in their career they're at, what's the best way to get in touch with you or reach out to the organization?
Always the best is our website, Massimo, Massimo group.com is the best way. We got a lot going on right now. We're introducing something next week. I think it's going to change the industry. We're doing a lot of things crazy now. So we'd love to talk to you.
Awesome. Rod, thank you so much for joining today, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.
Okay, buddy.
All
Take
right.
care.
Okay.